Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Larkin. I'm the host of On the Mic with Mike. As you guys know, I love what I do podcasting, interviewing people of all facets of life, and pro wrestling, the greatest art form that there is one of my absolute favorites. And this one right here is an absolute star in the rise and the making, on and on till the break of dawn. Miss Sammy Chaos, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good. First and foremost, I gotta say, I've been loving what you've been doing on the independent scene, off different many promotions. You've been really killing it. I've really been enjoying seeing what I've been seeing from you these past couple months and just on and on, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm having a lot of fun. So
Well,
this
that's
is
the thing. If you're not doing what you're doing in life and not having fun, then why do it? And I think one of the greatest crafts, like I mentioned here at the start of the show, professional wrestling, I really dig the character. I love what you do in the ring because I love the fact of letting chaos reign. It has that different vibe, that ambience to it. I think you're really being the best representation of your presentation.
well, it's good to know that people are getting it.
No, and I love it. I think what's great about it too is as well, and I've said this to you, I think the ambiance and the layers of what we get to see with the character, it's very Bull Nakano-ish. It's very Vader-ish. You can even throw
Yeah.
in Daphne-ish. Like you've taken a lot of traits and really implied it, you know?
Yeah, we're trying to meld them all together. So,
Well, I think
yeah.
that's a plus too. And I think what I love about it too as well, Sammy, is like for what you're doing with Caitlin Marie, and we'll start it here with this because before we get into more wrestling topics, you two have such a great chemistry with one another. And for those that don't know, I do a lot of work over on the Capital Championship Wrestling YouTube channel with recaps and previews. And man, oh man, Battle of the Throne, you and Caitlin against Ultra Violet and Nikki Duke, which first of all, great match. You guys, ladies, did your thing. You're
Hmm.
welcome. But god dang it, man. If you want to talk about like Memphis Heat when they're yelling at Jerry the King Lawler, old
Yeah.
school type of vibes here. Y'all are chastised, and there's a baby in there. Caitlin was distracted by the baby. Oh my God. I love that. I love the
That,
whole thing.
that's why we didn't walk away with that W. It was all that baby's fault, right in the front row.
It's all the baby's fault. But no, I think you two have great chemistry together. And I wanted to talk to you about CCW because Marcello has such a great vision with the product. We've seen so many promotions, such as Shimmer, Shine, Rise, so many different women's promotions, even on the Rise as well, really doing their thing. I wanted to ask you about your time there in CCW because you and Caitlin Marie are back. Capital Cup tournament's coming up too.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for July 15th. But yeah, the Battle of the Throne, that was the first time that I met Caitlin Marie, and we were just kind of thrown into a match together, and it ended up, I mean, not in our favor, but I mean, we found out that, I mean, we work really well together. Um, Even though she tends to yell at me like a little bit too much, but like it's fine. We're getting through it. Um, we even teamed at a ladies' night out in North Carolina a couple weekends ago. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think we're gonna take this one. We better take this one.
Well, I will say this. I look forward to seeing, and I know first and foremost of what you two got going on. I can't wait to see you go forward throughout the Capital Cup tournament. For those who have not checked it out, it is a special tournament highlighting women's tag team wrestling and women's wrestling as a whole. And I got to say this about you two. First and foremost, Caitlin is very much one that does yell, but I think you kind of got a little bit back in her in that Capital Rumble, man. I know you eliminated from the Battle Royal. Yeah, it had to be done, right?
I mean, come on. I had to get a piece just a little bit.
I get it, but I think she's one of the stars. And like you mentioned, the ladies' night out with Vanity and Olivia Devine, like another great matchup as well.
Yeah.
You look at the Carolinas, it's territory, but I think it's great to see ladies' night out really come up on the upswing as well. They've been doing their thing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a really fun locker room to be a part of. So that was good.
I think you also have what I love about professional wrestling, especially with women's wrestling nowadays. Like we've seen the focal points, like I mentioned, two names like Alundra Blaze, Medusa, Bull Nakano, and I'll even add this to you with the makeup and everything. You kind of got that scary Sherry Martel vibe too. We even add that layer to your but that's the thing too. You're what I love about how women's wrestling has evolved is more promotions, more featured spots on the card, especially in various promotions like WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, especially with someone you know as well, Masha Slamovich doing the damn thing with Killer Kelly, the dog collar match.
My
Hello.
God. Yes. Did you just catch? Oh my God. Ugh, amazing.
Well, that's the thing. You have Piper and Valentine from the 80s. You have Brody Lee and Cody. Now we got Masha and Killer Kelly, which I'm going to say right now, folks, if you've not checked out Masha Slamovich, what a hot commodity she is. Japan all over the world. My God.
Oh my God. She doesn't disappoint in anything she does.
And it's
So
funny too, because you look at Killer Kelly, and I've always said this Like Killer Kelly, when I first saw her wrestle Mako Satomura in that Mae Young Classic, such an underrated classic in that tournament, what she did on NXT UK now in Impact. Another one, Portugal representing, and then you got Masha. Like variety is everything in professional wrestling.
Oh yeah, there's I think we need to see a lot more different, characters and gimmicks and just different looking people, if that makes sense.
No, I get it. And I mean, well, here's the perfect part. I'll include you with this. So with professional wrestling, like Sammy talks about here with different people, like we're so used to like the blonde, the blue hair, like it was back in the day, like your Kelly Kelly's, your Tori Wilson's, your Stacy Keibler. Then like a Sammy Chaos comes around here, you kind of got that goth vibe to you, but it's badass. And I'm gonna say this about you, Sammy. It's the gravitational pull. We're hooked, we're line and sinker, we're in there, we're intrigued. And I especially this brings it up because not just CCW in the matchup, doggone man, that promo, you can't see what's there in the darkness. You can't see what's coming. That promo leading up to that was great with the candles.
Oh yeah, thank you. I
But
don't
that's
know. I want to bring something different, and this is no knock to any female out there. Like, I'm just kind of looking for a representation of me, if that makes sense. Like, I don't see myself in anybody else, So it's like, I don't know. To me, everyone looks almost the same, and no one's really trying to stand out too much. So I don't know. I'm just trying to be different.
I think with how you do with your gear, by the way, which again is the external beauty, it's the external of your character. It reminds me very much of, and I'm going to put an image in people's heads here. Jessica Havoc, not just the death dolls of what we have now at Impact. It's very
Yeah.
reminiscent of Jessica Havoc, like 2014, when she comes in, beats Taryn Terrell, wins that Knockouts Championship, that face off with Awesome Kong. It gives me that kind of early Jessica Havoc.
Yes. Yes. And I'm not going to say that's my favorite Jessica Havoc, but it's.
It's up there, yeah, I know. No, I feel you too on that. And I think what was so interesting about that run is because, like, we all know we love Jessica Havoc for the talent that she is, but the
Mhm.
second time around really showcased her full potential.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I agree with you.
Well, that's the thing too. And I mean, we talk about what you have, and like I said, I've seen a lot of your work. What I love about it too is as well, folks, you do a choke slam that's very reminiscent of like 911 ECW, and I mean that in the highest praise because it reminds me of Paul Heyman would get himself into these situations, and then here comes 911, boom, choke slam,
Yeah.
right? Love the way you execute that. I got to put that over just because it shows the athleticism, the statuesque, and it's very fluid without your matches.
Thank you. Yes.
And I think that brings it to as well because I see you for what you are here, but what you got. You got the black lipstick, you got the whole thing with the tats, which I have to ask about the tattoos because the body's the canvas, the body's the temple, really showcasing that art as we've seen in literature, the illustrated man. I like to call you the illustrated woman over here. Hello. But you're welcome. I love the tattoos. Can you talk about them? Because there's a lot of stories and symbolism that goes into tattoos, but it also really makes up for the edge that brings into your character and you as a whole.
Yeah. So I mean, I've wanted to be covered like head to toe in tattoos since I was like 12, 13 years old. So I'm really boring when people ask me like what do my tattoos mean because I'm literally just like a kid with a coloring book. I'm just like I was the kid in high school that drew on themselves and would just go home looking a mess. But yeah, I mean, I just want to film my whole body just with ink. And I mean, I have ones that I have matching with like friends and stuff that's as far as like the meaning goes, things like that. But I don't have any like super, super meaningful tattoos at the moment. Like I have bottoms up tattooed on my hand from like college. That's the meaning of that. Like it's just as simple as that.
Fair enough, but I mean, some of the simplest things even stand out a lot. So I got to give you credit. Well, first of all, having a badass tattoo like bottoms up, hello people, I like that. I can respect that. But no, and I think what's great about it too is as well, it adds not just to your personality, but what I love about the fact is like I think we all know those kids in high school that drew on themselves. I especially remember a lot of those. I hung out with a lot of those kids because I remember study hall. All of a sudden, there was this girl that I used to know back in high school. I hope she's doing well, but god dang, I just remember the pen right here, and just there's like a little something like small here, but then it like manifests, and I'm like, all right, like it's something different. It really paints the picture. You know what I'm saying of what they are, very the creativity, right?
Yeah, there you go. Like I would just have friends like in art class just with Sharpies like drawing on my arm. and then I'd go home and get in trouble. But I mean, every day.
No, but I can respect that. And I think that's gotten you a long way to where you are and where your journey and your destination is currently taking you, ma'am. But I really do appreciate the fact that not only do we get that with what you get to see in CCW and Ladies Night Out, like you mentioned, but god dang, man, my neck of the woods, Long Island, Victory Pro Wrestling, the unwilting Tatiana, who has had great matches with Caitlin Marie, your tag team partner. She's been really killing it on the independent scene as well.
Yes, yeah. No, I actually just recently watched the match she had with Caitlin Marie. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow and having this match with her. So I'm excited.
I cannot wait. She cut a great promo on you talking about how she's just going to come out at you and everything. For those who want to check that promo out, go to Victory Pro Wrestling on Instagram. I'm hyped. I can't wait to see the footage and everything that comes out from it. When you look at Long Island, you think of Victory Pro Wrestling, you think of Creative Pro, you think of NYWC, the Northeast, and I'm not just being biased here, but the Northeast has some of the best doggone professional wrestling on the indie scene, man.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with you.
As a woman like yourself with Battle Club Pro, I've seen a lot of events in Brooklyn where women like yourself, women like Cosmic, Nikki Duke, and all these great wrestlers that came from there that we've seen on the CCW roster, like that has just such a graduating class and great classmen and just everybody that came out of that school.
Yeah, where we train the Fallout in Brooklyn, I mean Masha is one of our trainers, so I mean she's awesome. I mean all of our trainers are great. They really prepare us for anything and everything that's out there. So I think they're turning out a good class right now.
I think so too. And I mean, well, that's the most important part. And I always say this is why I love wrestling. A lot of people even forget it. Some of the most basic fundamentals, going to the right school, getting that right education, getting the right drills, what have you. It really says a lot for where you're going to go as a professional wrestler.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, and we're always training, so we never stop.
Absolutely not. And I got to say, first and foremost, folks, I've seen a lot of the stuff you put on your Instagram, man. If you want to check out Sammy just doing her things, just the grind never stops, working out, doing your thing. The discipline there is there. I got to put you over for that because there's a lot that goes into it.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It's funny because I didn't realize, I don't think anyone realizes going into wrestling how intense it is. I mean, I've played sports my entire life. I played basketball up until college. Um, but the cardio I experience in wrestling doesn't compare to anything else. So we always have to be training.
Well, first and foremost here, man, it's like regular WNBA over here, basketball throughout high school. And okay, we got to talk about this. What was it that attracted you to basketball? Because I mean, you look at women from the WNBA, like Lisa Leslie was a prominent one with the Los
Yeah.
Angeles Sparks. Yes. Talk about this basketball, man, because that's really awesome. Transferring from basketball and wrestling the whole night. What made you get into basketball?
So I come from a huge basketball family. I have four uncles and a dad who all played into college. I had a cousin play like overseas. Um, but yeah, I mean, everyone in my family plays basketball, so it was kind of like this is what you're gonna do, kind of thing. And yeah, I played up into college, like a D3 school, nothing crazy. But yeah, I was super into like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the WNBA, obviously. Um, but yeah, I was super into it. I still am. Like on that's why I love like on a nice day, I go out and shoot around. Um, I love it. I'm always up for one-on-one. It's all good.
Well, I can say I can appreciate that too, because I got to say, one of the best parts, folks, about playing basketball in high school on a rainy day, here's the best part. If we had to go outside to play or do like a mile run or anything around the track, if it was raining, stay inside and play some basketball. What I love about
Yeah.
it as well, yes. But the basketball side of things is great too, because like when I grew up on Long Island, like there was a local park, so basketball hoops right there. I always attracted me to it as well, just because I think it's fun. We always used to do the knockout and shootouts, and plus,
Yeah.
you remember, okay, for those that are unfamiliar with the knockout, so you stand in a line and then just it's just like a basic basketball drill, but it's very fundamental and it's also very fun and it really disciplines you to go into a game. I think it's great fundamentals there too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, bring me back knockout.
Oh,
She
I know. But no, that was my thing too, because I think what I gravitated me towards basketball, because again, from New York, the New York Knickerbockers are the team, and then we have the Brooklyn Nets and so many in the Northeast.
Yeah.
if you've never been to a basketball game, whether it be Knicks or what have you, it is a hell of an experience to be at a basketball game, much like professional wrestling. It's so amplified up, right?
Oh my God, it's so much. I'm not gonna say it's better than watching on TV, but like you can't compare the two. Much like going to a wrestling show.
Oh, same. And I mean, I had all the games from, and it's funny because being the video game nerd, like I had the NBA shootouts with Stephon Marbury on the cover and Allen
Yeah,
Iverson, NBA 2K3, the Ballers with Chauncey Billups and Stephon Marbury. And then you added hot sauce in there and we put some street ball. Oh, like right there. That was the days, right?
oh my gosh, yeah. So we're the Knicks your team? That was
That was me. I remember I have it somewhere here in my house here. I had an old, I'm gonna take everybody back here. Allen Houston plaque.
yeah,
Give me a little Patrick Ewing, Marcus Camby. Hello. Oh,
yeah,
yes. So yes, they were my team. I remember even the first game that I first saw them at, that was when Michael Doliak was on the team and you had Stephon Marbury on the team and many, oh, yes, good times.
yeah. Yeah, we were a Knicks Celtics household. Mainly because Larry Bird. That's my dad was obsessed with Larry Bird, so we were a Celtics house. So
First and foremost, my introduction to Larry Bird, not just from seeing basketball. If you guys want to see a funny movie, and a lot of people give it crap, but I thought it was funny. Celtic Pride with Damon Wayans, Daniel Stern, and Dan
yeah,
Aykroyd. And Larry Bird just insults him at the bar. You guys should learn a little something about loyalty. Then he walks
um,
away. It's great. It's very underrated comedy. There's a lot of poop humor, but it's funny. It's very fun.
Daniel Stern. So
Yeah. Friggin' Marv. You know what I'm saying?
exactly. Oh my gosh.
My goodness, yes. Even one of the underrated roles that he had, friggin' even Rookie of the Year when he was like the manager with Thomas Ian Nicholas and
Yeah.
Gary. Oh my goodness.
One of my movies he was in was Bushwhack.
Yes, that's right. Oh,
Yeah. Everyone forgets about that movie, and I'm just like, so great.
it's true. Yes, you are absolutely correct on
The
that.
kind of movie that I'm here for.
Yes, I like your style. Okay. Uh, I remember like here's a very underrated one. So for those that remember when A&E like on Bio used to have like celebrity ghost stories, there was this one he was on where he was talking about like they were in this town and it was kind of like a very zombified town because it's like think of like a haunted town where there were so many deaths and people were hanged. Like think of something from like the 1800s. He talks about that experience. It's very creepy, it's very eerie, but you know, it's very interesting just to learn about stuff like that from the paranormal.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, celebrity ghost stories. All these it's so funny. You forget about shows until someone just brings it up and it's like your memory is just like shocked.
Hey, I even go back to where a lot of people, it's funny. Like you look at somebody like Matt Sydal, who's on AEW now, and he's done his thing in WWE Ring of Honor all over the world. Like I mentioned, like Wrestling Society X, which was on MTV back in like '06 and '07, where he had Lizzie Valentine as the manager and he was wearing like the frat jacket. I'm like, this is what we had back in the day, man. Friggin' Vampiro, Sean X Pac Waltman on there, Teddy Hart, friggin' Chaos and Aaron Aguilera and the tables, ladders, and cervezas. Hello, come on now. That's what we had, MTV, man.
I know. I
Oh,
know. MTV. Jeez.
no. Well, before we went to all reality shows, right?
Yeah, true. There used to be cool stuff on MTV.
But I gotta say, what is still very cool, not just besides our pop culture nerdiest and everything that we're spawning back into life here and manifesting, but I gotta say, what's so cool about professional wrestling is how the way we get into it. You know, we have so many things at the hands of our fingertips, right? You know, with technology, some people get into it from watching a match or promo. Hell, even some people watch Total Divas and the reality side of things that really bring it together. There's so many avenues. But for you, Miss Sammy Chaos, what kind of got you into professional wrestling? What was the match? What was the moment? What kind of hooked you?
So, I blame my older brother.
Okay.
He he's the mastermind behind it. So I'm an Attitude Era baby. And we just used to watch, The Rock and Stone Cold and just be glued to the TV. And he's the one that kind of just got me into it. And, after dinner, it would be like, I'm going to practice wrestling moves on you. And I mean, I'm not allowed to say no. So yeah, it was all him. Um, but it's funny because growing up, it was never like a thought in my mind that like I could go out and pursue that kind of thing. Like, I don't know. In my house, like we didn't talk about like, oh yeah, you could be on TV. Yeah, you could be this, you could be that. Um, so I kind of started late in the game. which I'm not mad about now. Um, but yeah, that's how I was introduced to wrestling. I was just, chilling with my older brother and he put it on. So,
That's the
yeah.
beautiful thing about his family because my father had been a wrestling fan of like for over 40, 50 years. So it's funny too because I love how you say late bloomers because there's a lot of late bloomers when it comes into watching wrestling. Like I started like '02, so think of like Ruthless Aggression era, like Cena's on the come up, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, Batista. And just because my parents never used to let me watch it, and then I just became so hooked, and then boom, it's one of those things too. Like Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, the Macho Man, all these stars from Stone Cold, Rock, Undertaker. But when you actually see them in person, or you actually watch and go through a show, it's addicting.
Oh yeah.
Much like with tattoos, it's very addicting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a rush. It's kind of that adrenaline rush, so to speak.
Exactly. They're like potato chips. Can't just have one. So,
It's gonna
yeah.
make me hungry for potato chips up in here. I like your style. Okay, yes. But no, that's the thing too with professional wrestling. Like, I mean, with what we get to see now from the Attitude Era, from the Ruthless Aggression era to where we are now, I always say it's very healthy competition. We talk about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling. That's always a great thing. Like, even from the Monday Night Wars and ECWs over here, it's great to see more promotions thriving, more of a focus on women's wrestling. There's so much
Mhm.
focus out there on professional wrestling. We need that. We need more companies to come into fruition, especially internationally, to here, stateside, internationally. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. And when I got into it, like it's funny hearing other people's like come up with wrestling because I didn't know like what independent wrestling was. Like when I was growing up, it was WWE or F or WCW. Like that was it.
Mhm.
And um I didn't know anything about Japan. I didn't even watch like TNA, nothing. So all of that came much later for me. Um, but I don't know. I love all of it.
No, I'm right there with you. And it's funny because I think my first quote unquote, and I'll put in air quotations, indie, if you will. So Ring of Honor back in the day used to run at, okay, I'm going to take everybody back. Sports Plus, Grove, New York. Sports Plus, you go downstairs, there's the arcade, get yourself a pizza. Then upstairs, it's the auditorium, and there's where Ring of Honor would be. And then you see like, for instance, NYWC, who was did that their thing at the Deer Park Community Center, and then we see like NWA Cyberspace in Wayne, New Jersey. This is how old like the territories and the indies were at that days. But I think what's great about it too as well, with how professional wrestling is, and you see AEW with New Japan and the Forbidden Door, I love the fact that it's like combining with territories. Like WWE has the influx with ICW and Progress Wrestling that is aired on their network. I think it's great just to see companies working together. I think we need to see more of that because at the end of the day, it's the same end goal. We're just putting on the best damn possible show with some great professional wrestling on it.
Right. Yeah. It's not so much of a monopoly anymore.
No, not at all. And I think what's great about it too is like we talk about Japan, which Stardom, which has such a great and amazing roster. We saw Mercedes Moné do her thing, Mayu
Yeah.
Iwatani, the whole nine. I gotta say now, we talk about Bull Nakano here, Miss Sammy Chaos. We gotta get to see you in Japan down the line with your size, your stature. You'll be right in there with it, man.
The goal. I'd say dream, but I mean, dream sounds like it won't come true. So it's goal. So
All you need
yeah.
to do is hit him with that Asha Kong spinning back fist, and then boom, that's it. Like that. But no, that like I said, and I love that. And I think a lot of people don't even realize what I love about hearing the Japan stories, not just because Japan is so disciplined with the dojo, especially the dojo here in the States, but it's like the culture, it's the respect instead of the loud cheers, it's the clap, or it's just that general organic reaction. Like there's nothing like a Japanese crowd.
Yeah, it's definitely different. And I remember watching like my first like match in Japan. I was like, no one's cheering, like no one's doing anything. I'm like, they clap. Like I was just so dumbfounded by that. But I mean, hey, it's almost like because I kind of try to put myself in that situation. I'm like, what do I do? Like no one's nothing, like no noise, just clapping. It's kind of like just I don't know, performing for my peers in training. That's how I'm kind of going into it. I'm like, yeah, they just watch you.
No, that's the thing too. I think of it like, and again, this is my field trip brain of like elementary, high school days. I think we all can be there. When we would have to sign our permission slips. I'm like, okay, yeah, they want to take us over here to the auditorium to see this play. Here you go, mom and dad. It's one of those things like you go into like a play and think of it like as act one, act two, act three. That's pretty much what
Right.
you're watching. Did you pick?
Yep, yep. And I don't know, I feel like the claps might almost be more satisfying too, because then it's like you really did a good job because they're clapping.
Doggone, man, when you see like Mercedes Monet winning the IWGP Women's Championship and then there's streamers out the wazoo over here, it's like, can you really beat that image too? Almost like what we saw in NXT when they got the roses for the tournament and whatnot. Like, come on.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's the
One of
thing.
the top streamers.
Oh God, and God rest his soul, Jimmy Rave, when he being the great heel that he was in Ring of Honor, the toilet paper. You
But
should toilet paper at Jimmy Rave. Oh,
what
yeah.
an image.
It was, and I think that was the first time, like the first show I ever been at when he was there. Now, Jimmy Rave was feuding with AJ Styles at the time, so for those that don't recall, they had a feud in Ring of Honor in like the mid 2000s. This was like when AJ was still in TNA, so
Mhm.
they had a feud because Jimmy Rave did the Styles Clash, but he called it the Rave Clash, and obviously AJ Styles the Styles Clash, and it was a feud of who's gonna have that maneuver and who's gonna keep the rights to the name, and AJ won, and then Jimmy Rave had to change his move. So that was how it was. I mean, stuff like that, so simple, but it's very interesting just to see the story into that because anything can make into a story, and you really just manifest it out there, right?
Oh yeah. Yep. I think a lot of people watch for the story. So when you have just a simple story like that's awesome.
No, that's the thing too. And I think a lot of people, there's always been that debate now, especially in today's society of professional wrestling, the story over the matches. But I'm like, it's kind of a nice balance between the two. Like you have the professional wrestling, you have the story. I think if you have that nice balance to it, it works out perfectly. I mean, it's the build. Like look at Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper, the war to settle the score. You want to see Hulk Hogan drop the leg. You want to see Piper do his thing, but it's how we get there is what matters. So I mean, there's very different elements to it that make for a great wrestling story and promos, you know?
Yeah, 100%. One of my coaches, Mike Law, he always says it's about a moment and it's about making, the crowd feel something. It's not necessarily, doing moves back to back and spot, 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 in your match. It's making them feel something and making moments. So I always try to keep that in mind.
First of all, shout out to the great Colossal Mike Law, friggin'
Yeah,
warrior of wrestling, doing his thing on the Northeast. The GOAT, Colossal Mike Law.
so cool.
Yes, the dude is great, though. I've got to say, I've talked to him in the past. The dude has a mind for the business like do many. He's a good dude.
Amazing. Yes. Hmm.
Shout out to Mike Law. But no, here's the thing, too. And I love that philosophy, too. It's moments and memories created, then moments and memories yet to be created. And like he talks about making them feel and everything. Like you look at what's on WWE now with the Bloodline storyline for going on for doggone 3 years. Like they're making you feel each and every way. You want to tune in next week. Like what they're doing with Impact. We mentioned Masha and Killer Kelly. What are they going to do in this dog collar match? It's historic. What are they going to do with Steve Macklin, who reinvented himself from being a forgotten son and now he's the doggone world champion over there? Same with AEW with MJF, Darby Allin. How are we going to get in the mix here? So there's a lot of compelling TV on the wrestling side of things that really hook people. And I think moments, man, making people feel, as they say, like Mike says there, making people feel.
Yeah, absolutely. So just always have to keep that in mind. It's not always about what you're, you know, the cool spots that you're doing. It's about, what you guys are feeling out there.
Well, if it was just about the cool spots, man, then it would just be like video game style. Everything you just going back and forth, X square, triangle, L1, L2, R1, R2. Hello, analog
Right.
stick. Up. Yep, boom.
Mashing, button mashing.
So pretty much what we're saying, folks, it's like when WWE has the video games and you're trying to kick out at friggin' two and you got to mash the friggin' buttons. Yes. Oh.
Everything all at once.
I mean,
Hmm.
but I think there's an art form to everything. And like we mentioned, the Wrestling Society X's, and you had Lucha Underground back in the day, which was a mixture of like a telenovela mixed with pro wrestling. I think what's great about it too, there's so much to it, and we get to see some of our favorite people that are in there, like Johnny Mundo and Taya Valkyrie, who just became a great addition to the AEW roster. You look at what she's done in Mexico, like we talk about Japan, Mexico, the international side of things. Like she has really come into her own ever since she's come back to AEW, did her thing in Impact. Like she's another one that's really transitioned.
Yeah, she's great. I love watching her.
But that's the thing too, and Sammy, I got to put this over on your front too as well. We talk about that gravitational pull. Like I've seen a lot of matches as well with your stuff with Jordy Lee. I mean, you've been in there with Edith Surreal, Ruthless Lala, who's another one who's very underrated. Like a lot of those matches, I got to say, I got to put you over, whether it be multi-man or singles, what have you. You've established a great rivalry and a great rapport in that ring. I got to put over those matches too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. So let's talk about that first year because I saw the stuff with Jordy Lee and Jordy Lee, another one, great David and Goliath type style battle here. Very speedy, very powerful in her own right. But then yourself over here, just boom, hit him with the clothesline, hit him with a choke slam. Maybe I'll drop an elbow. Boom, tells a great story. I want to ask you about Jordy Lee because she's another one that has such promise.
She is so fun. We were each other's first match. So I really hope to have another singles match with her. It's awesome to see how far she's come and how far we've both come since that first match because we are eons away from what we were. Um, but she's awesome. Her attitude, her rapport, her you give her a mic and she'll just talk shit. It's amazing. She's awesome.
Well, that's the beautiful thing too, and I think you two have this, and we talk about this because when you're in their first match, there, folks, very timid, very shy. The nerves start kicking in like it does with everybody, and I mean, you start out there, and I mean, it could be started as a rough patch, but then you get to find your groove, which you have, and much as Jordy Lee has as well. But I think that's the beauty of it too, man. Talking them into the building. I got to talk them into the building. You keep doing your thing on that front.
Yeah, she we were I remember before we like walked through the curtain, we were so nervous. It's even written all over my face. Like when I walk out of the curtain, I can't even watch it. But yeah, and now like between then and now, it's like night and day. I'm really proud of like what she's accomplished and how far she's come. It's awesome.
Which first and foremost here, first of all, I mean it does written all over the face, and I'm gonna say I have seen that match, but it wasn't that bad. I wouldn't say it wasn't that. It wasn't
I
that
was like, what?
I mean, you can see it, but I'm like, it wasn't that bad. I mean,
I was like, I'm gonna walk back.
what? I mean, first of all, it's normal though. You know, I mean, it's normal.
We're gonna have this match back here, not in front of these people.
I think that's the start, man. Getting the foot in the
So
door.
funny.
Oh my God. But yeah, no, that's the thing too. And I think you've really adapted, much like a lot of the girls have, to the professional wrestling scene. You've really come and found yourself. And what I love about it too is as well from the merchandise and marketing standpoint. First of all, let's just put it out there. Sammy Chaos is a badass name. And like it really is. Like if you add like chaos or anything to it, it adds that element to it. We know what you're about and boom. But I gotta say, I do love the name. I do love the name a lot. It really does.
I think it drives the point home.
It does, but I mean, like we talk about simplistic and spectacular, keeping it simple and keeping it spectacular. Like it works, but also at the same time, you get to add more to it. Like you look at people like I'm gonna say this right now. You look at like the Renegade Twins. Like first of all, badass twins as a tag team format. And their sisters. But if you look at the word renegade, there's a lot that goes into the name renegade, so you have to live up to it. You know.
Right, yeah. You know that two badass chicks are gonna come through that curtain.
And I will say this: we got to talk about Caitlin Marie one more time here because you mentioned North Carolina. We talk about North Carolina. Come on and raise up like we're Petey Pablo up in here. I digress. There's so much stuff in here that I think that's great from her as a single and you two as a tag team. And I can't wait to see what's coming up. Like we mentioned, the Capital Cup tournament in July. But yo, is there anyone that you've seen so far? Because Ultraviolet and Nikki Duke are in that tournament as well. I'd love to see you run it back.
I saw that. I really hope we do. And I hope we get our redemption.
You will. And I mean, you all really showcased yourself, like we talked about the Capital Rumble there. But I think you guys really, you had a great showing in there. Brittany Blake, Caitlin Marie, the one, a whole nine, which was won by Christina Marie, who's now the current CCW champion. I think you guys are going to get that CCW tag team goal in the future. I think it's in the near future for you. I can't wait to see where you guys go in that tournament. And I know it'll be far. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, Sam, put it out in the universe. We're
Yeah,
making it.
absolutely. And I will say this as well. We talk about professional wrestling, we talk about everything. I got to say, first and foremost, here, what I love about professional wrestling, and I think you can agree with this quote from me. I always love to say this on the show: life is an art form wherein we're all applying our crafts. And I think we all just like to go out there to apply our crafts in amazing fashion, right?
100%. Yes.
And I gotta say, folks, before we even close this out, Sammy Chaos, first of all, you're a gem. You're an absolute amazing talent. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. I know it's going to get brighter and brighter, but we definitely have to do a round two for this. I'm so happy we got to do this tonight.
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. And a couple final things before we close this out. You mentioned earlier advice from Colossal Mike Law. Now I got to ask you about Masha Slamovich here, because someone who does also have a wealth of knowledge is Masha Slamovich. We mentioned her career in depth here. I got to ask you, what's some of the best piece of advice that Masha has given to you?
Hit them hard.
Simple. First of all, I can't even with that. Beautifully said. Sometimes the most simplest things, right?
Hit them hard.
All right,
Don't
beautiful.
half-ass it.
Beautiful. Sometimes it's the most bluntest things. And I will put this out here because some people, obviously, we learn differently. And I think that's what's great of us as people and being unique and how we get to our destination. But sometimes we need that kick in the ass and that tough love. And sometimes the most bluntness stuff really can motivate us, right?
Oh, 100%. I know that works for me.
And it certainly does show and shine through throughout your work. This is one of the best talents right now on the scene, and it's just going to continue to grow and grow. And Sammy, before we close this out as well, you're on Instagram, you're on Twitter, you're doing your thing all over the social media. Where can we find you?
Twitter and Instagram, it's at Real Sammy Chaos. Please follow me.
Which you should, because there's a lot of great matchups, there's a lot of great promotion, there's a lot of great Sammy Chaos. That's all you could say. All this right here, the money maker, the boom, right?
Dang.
And I always love asking this question as well, because we talk about your trainers and we talked about the professional wrestling scene here. But as someone like yourself, who is still finding yourself, has come into her own and only keeps on learning and learning, everything keeps going and evolving for you. Do you have
Mhm.
any advice for a lot of the talents that want to get into professional wrestling?
Have a thick skin. Have a thick skin and just be consistent.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. You are an old school soul, but an amazing talent at that. And I really can't wait to see where it goes for you. So, folks, as I always say with this show, life is an art form. We're all applying our crafts. Apply your craft in amazing fashion and really support professional wrestling, support independent professional wrestling, support women's wrestling, just support professional wrestling as a whole, and support Sammy Chaos over here. And as always, the mindset of this show and just a mindset that should be implored each and every year, each and every time, each and every month, just all in life. Beauty, strength, and dominance, the three key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And Sammy Chaos, I include you in those sentiments. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.